In this video, I want to talk about an experience that I had recently that shook me up quite a bit. And I felt it would make a good video to serve as an example of the seriousness of taking psychedelics and how it's not just this hobby or thing that you can do for fun, just to pass the time or to seem cool or to seem like a hip kind of person. Yeah, I take psychedelics, you know. What happened to me and what I'm going to be describing, I feel, is a good example of what happens when somebody who is too heavily in tune with their ego's suggestions throws themselves into a high-dose psychedelic experience. So this happened to me, I think it was about a little under a week ago it was. And the substance was MDA. Now, I made a video a little while ago that I've been recently experimenting with this substance, and I know it's not, I mean, it is a psychedelic, but it's said to be this sort of, it's said to be similar to Molly or MDMA, like the empathogenic effect of it. But what I experienced the other night was a quite profound and psychedelic-like encounter that I had, which made me rethink a lot and reevaluate a lot about myself and these substances that I take. So to get on with the experience that I had, it was me and my brother. I've made videos with him before. He dabbles with substances as well, the same types of substances I do, but interestingly not the recent things that I have been trying, such as ketamine and nitrous and MDA. He's more about the traditional psychedelic substances, LSD, DMT, mushrooms, those kind of things. And I had asked him, "Yo, do you want to try rolling with me tonight?" Which is like a term for taking MDA or MDMA or whatever. And he decided that sure, why not? Let's try it. And I will mention that the dose that we took that night, it was much, much, much larger than any dose of MDA I've taken prior to that. I decided, okay, I know what this little amount feels like. This is the experience it brings about. Let's up it up a notch. Let's bring it up a notch, you know what I mean? Increase the dose, increase the effects. So I had dosed into capsules a certain amount of powder that we were each going to take, and like I said, it was probably 5 times as much as I had taken before. And my brother didn't even hesitate. He's like, "Let's do this." Takes his pill, and me, I just being the way I am, I poured the capsule out on my hand to look at how much I was taking, and it was a pile, much larger than what I had taken before. And there were these 2 chunks in there that had not been crushed into powder, and I was like, I don't need that much, you know. Took them out, and my brother's like, "What are you doing? Come on, you're limiting yourself. Just go for it, you know." So I was like, he's right. I put the rocks back in my hand, throw it all back. An unknown amount of milligrams of MDA. I throw it back. So now that we've taken the substance, we are just carrying on with the night, waiting for the effects to begin. And we start, I think we were playing Xbox or watching YouTube videos, one or the other. And I start describing to Keegan, my brother, the kind of things that happen when you start to come up on this stuff, and what I said to him was, Like, you might start to feel like you're heating up, or like you're all of a sudden cold or something, or you're gonna feel like you're not thirsty, but you are, like the suppressing your feeling of becoming thirsty, that type of stuff. I was just talking about the typical things that occur when you begin to come up on this substance, because he was curious. He had never taken it, and he knows that I like to research about the physiological and psychological effects of substances, so that's what I was talking about. And this was probably 20 to 30 minutes after we had taken it, but I began to start feeling hot. I started feeling overheated inside, and I told myself, okay, I'm starting to come up. It's starting to hit me. So I proceeded to just watch the YouTube videos and watch my brother play Xbox, and I started to just really start getting hot, really start feeling like I'm overheating, and I said, holy shit, I'm getting like really hot, you know. So I take my shirt off, and this heating up begins to just keep coming at me. I'm getting hotter and hotter, and I take off my jammies and put shorts on, and then it comes on another wave, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm starting to get clammy. I grab the fan and I'm holding it in front of me, and my brother's like, God damn, bro, you're already heating up like that. And I said to him, Jesus Christ, I'm sweating so much right now. And I was just holding this fan in front of me, and he said, that's weird, dude, because you're not sweating at all. And I looked at my body, and I'm bone dry, and there was no sweat on me, but I was raging hot feeling. I was just, it felt like I was burning up on the inside. And within a few minutes of him saying that to me, you're not even sweating, my entire body began to violently perspirate, violently make sweat, and it was running down my face, and my hair was getting wet and damp from the amount of sweat, and my underarms were dripping, and there was sweat all over my body, and I started to get concerned. I started to get concerned at how much I was heating up, to the point that I started to think that I had taken something other than MDA, or that I had taken far too much, and my body could no longer handle the experience it was producing. Now just take a second to think about those things that I just said, where I have taken this drug, I start to feel hot, and I begin telling myself, I took too much, my body can't handle this. And looking back on it now, I would have to say that was the beginning of my breakdown, my freak out experience that I had, because it started with this hot, overheating sweatingness, and then it immediately transitioned to fear and regret and utter panic on the inside that I'm going to die tonight. I took too much of this drug, or I took a drug that I didn't know I was taking. My body is physiologically dying right now. It can't handle this. This was all running through my head, and I started to dissociate from my environment. I started to begin pacing around the room with my eyes shut, completely forgetting about Keegan in the room, fully involved and enthralled with how I am dying, I am in danger, and I took too much of this substance, and I need to just let go, right? that was in my mind. Just let it go. Just let this happen. And in the amount of fear and panic I was in at that time, I had fully lost myself in my ego. And I bought into every suggestion that it was telling me, that I am in danger, I am dying, I'm not going to make it, I need to do something, but do what? Because I don't want to call the cops, I don't want to, I don't want to make it crazy, but I feel in danger. All this was running through my head, and I'm doing everything in what I thought was my power to just be okay with it and let it happen. And this came out in the form of swaying my arms around like this and rubbing the ceiling and rubbing my own body. And my brother said it. He said it looked like I was trying to fly away. I was doing all this weird stuff, just like moving around the room like a fucking ballerina or something. And like I said, I was completely gone, lost in my fear of what was happening. I wasn't hanging out with my brother, I wasn't playing Xbox, I wasn't intentionally even doing all this. I was just so lost in my fear and regret and terror of what is happening to me in my body right now. My mind felt coherent. It knew I did something wrong, but that was just it. Nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong. I found out later on I was having a severe panic attack. And with later research, and I had heard about it before, but I hadn't associated it with what was happening to me, but it's come up anxiety. I was coming up so hard that my ego clutched, and I gave into its suggestions. It fully convinced me, this isn't okay. This isn't okay. And that's what makes me think this was such a psychedelic, ego-dissolving experience for me, is because my ego felt terrified, endangered, like it was dying, threatened, the whole 9 yards. It felt wrong what was happening to me, and I was doing what I thought was the right thing to just let it go and do what it was doing. But what I was doing was succumbing to my fear and panic and feelings of being threatened by what I had just taken. And my brother said that throughout this episode, which lasted about 20 minutes long, throughout this episode I was repeating to him, and I was whispering, should I say, I was whispering this. I was saying, I'm good, bro, you're good, I'm just sweating. I'm good, bro, you're good, I'm just sweating. I kept repeating this to him, and he kept saying to me, what do you mean, dude? Like, what is all this that you're doing? You don't fucking look good. I'm good, I'm just sweating. I was so lost in, I was trying to get him off my back, because I was so scared that I knew the expressions I was making him uncomfortable. Because let's not forget, he is on the same substance I am, maybe a little less of a dose, but he's never taken it before, and he is coming up on it, but not how I was, not even close. And that's what he knew was wrong. He is seasoned in taking oral psychedelics, ones that take a minute to really blast you, and he knew that what he was feeling right then and there and what I was representing, this is not the drug, this is him losing it. He is clinging, he is scared, he is not letting go of his ego. He's holding on for fucking dear life, and I was I was. And it took another turn before this all ended. McGuigan was just trying to let me be. He was just trying to let me do my thing, and he was trying to watch videos on YouTube and just not focus on me while I was sitting in the chair next to him going like this. I was like in silence, just moving, flailing, writhing around. And he's just trying to ignore me and watch videos and just, what the fuck is this kid going through, you know? And at one point, I started to feel so bad for him and me that I was in this state of dying, that I'm dying. This is, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, bro, type vibe. I began reaching my hands over and touching his leg and putting my fingertips on his legs. And right as my fingers landed on his legs, he jolted his leg away and said, "Bro, what are you doing?" And I said, "I feel like it's the only way I can be connected with you right now." And he proceeded to tell me that, "No, you do not need to be touching me." And I said, "Dude, it's not gay." And he said, I know, but there is no need for this touching. I don't want it. You don't need to be doing it." And I felt, I did feel rejected, but I completely understood that he is his own person. He is witnessing this. And he's not just going to sit still and let me do whatever I please to him just because I'm freaking out. And I stopped touching him and went back to my fucking writhing all around stuff. And I think it was 2 more times that I began to reach over and start touching him, just out of complete fear and disconnection from safety and calmness and relaxedness. I was just, dude, you're here, right? You're with me, you're here, right? And he got up and said, "I'm gonna go get a drink," and walked downstairs. And I knew in my head that he left because I was making him extremely uncomfortable. Hold on. And when he went downstairs, I'd say probably the worst wave of panic hit me right then and there. But it was all being expressed physically. It wasn't this, I felt like my mind was fine. I felt like I was alright in my mind, but my body is dying. But that thought stream right there is not right in the mind, you know? But anyways, when he went downstairs, I started to extremely overheat again, and I jumped up out of the chair I was sitting in, and I ripped my shirt off, and I was just rubbing all over my body, and my brother had said to me, like, "Dude, you need to go take a cold shower earlier." And now I was like, okay, I need to fucking do something. I need to do something to stop what's happening to me right now. And I ran into the bathroom and turned the shower faucet on, freezing cold. And I was just staring at this shower on. And something clicked in me. And it was just this feeling of, what are you doing right now? What the fuck is going on? Why are you losing it right now? And I at the time, I didn't have an answer to that. I just knew that the way I am going about what what is happening to me right now is not okay. And things are getting weird. The environment is beginning to get dangerous for me by the way I am reacting to this situation. So I shut the shower off and walked back into my brother's room and sat down, and I don't remember what I was doing or thinking, but this wave of extreme euphoria, and I think this was probably the peak of my trip, or the come up. This wave of euphoria hit me, and it was the most indescribably good feeling ever. One of them, I guess. It originated in my stomach, and it began to just grow and come out through my chest, and I was just sitting there, and it was like the runner's high feeling. Like if you're biking or running for a really long time, you start to get this like warm euphoric tickle in your stomach. Well, I got that, and it blew up through my whole body, and I was just sitting there in bliss, which was completely strange, because 5 seconds ago I was just fucking losing my shit, so scared, and now I'm sitting here just lost by how good my body feels. And my brother told me this was your brain releasing euphoria to calm you the fuck down, because you were getting to the point of overheating and maybe even cardiac arrest, because I didn't dare touch my heart during that panic attack, because I imagined it was just going to be beating so fast that I freaked out and probably did fucking die. But I bet it was going fast during that panic experience, and if I didn't stop reacting to my fear the way I was, I feel like I would have continued to pull myself into dangerous, physically dangerous territory of a heart attack or stroke or something like that. But I started to calm down. I started to just kind of look at what was happening to me. Look at how my body feels. Because I was tripping. There were visuals, very strange visuals happening to me. It was kind of like LSD, but it was more deliriant-like, to be honest. I was seeing these specks of dirt bouncing around the room that appeared to be like fleas or bugs or something, that were like bouncing off the walls and shit. And I thought that the design on my brother's mattress, they were like flowers or something. At one point they appeared to be these two worms that were like crawling across his bed, and I had to like stare at it and like really look at it to see that it's not these moving worms. So I was tripping, and I guarantee that that part of it was heavily amplifying my reaction to my own fear. You know, I was scared of my own fear of what was happening, because I had no other context of what was happening to me besides what my mind was telling me, which was that I'm dying, I took a different drug, I took too much of a drug, I'm not gonna get through this, you need to do something. You know, it was just going crazy. My mind was running laps, scared, panicking. And these are the kind of experiences, people, that make people jump out windows or kill themselves or hurt somebody else or themselves while on it, is because if you are so attached to what your ego tells you and suggests to you, when the time comes that ego begins to flutter away into just what is, your mind will begin to tell you some very far-fetched things, and you've trained yourself to believe what you're telling yourself, and you can get wind up in some very scary places of mind just by simply believing in what you're telling yourself. Me and Keegan talked about this for a while, the power of being convinced. That's what we talked about the rest of the night after I calmed down and I was just okay, and I had peaked, I was in it, my panic had fully gone down, and we spent the rest of the night talking about that. Right there is an example, a beautiful example of what happens when you don't let go of your ego and believe anything and everything that it tells you. This experience to me really shook me up. I said it at the beginning of the video, and I say it again now because it did. It reminded me how much ego I still really have, and how all this work I do and all these things that I teach myself that I think are making me one-up or outsmart my ego, it's right there with me. The thing that's learning all this stuff is the one that it's trying to outsmart. And you could call it ego death, you could call it whatever you want, but these right here are, to me, the reason why I do these substances. Because they break me down. They break me down to my finest fears and assumptions, and make me sit with them and realize that they literally don't do anything besides perpetuate your own fear and anxiety. They are just statements, you know? But these statements we live by every single day. And the amount of fear and dissatisfaction and unhappiness and unworthiness that we feel in regards to these things we tell ourselves in our mind, it's heavy. It's heavy. It's heavy stuff. And like I said, these kind of trips where I am fully convinced I have fucked up and I'm going to die, or I've gone insane, or, you know, stuff like that. To me, that is where progress lies. And I know the word progress is a loaded word, an ego-loaded word, but the kind of progress I'm talking about is the progress of not being convinced by your own suggestions of the world, by not succumbing to the explanations of things, I guess is a good way to put it. The morning after this trip, I was scared. I felt just lost, crazy, depressed. I don't want to say suicidal, but these thoughts of what do I do now were definitely present. I really did it this time, you know? And just to preface again, these are the kind of experiences that make people take their lives on psychedelics, or make people do outlandish things on psychedelics. It's not the drug at all. It's you trying to maintain composure. And look at what it made me do. Look at what I made me do to try to maintain composure. That was the complete opposite of maintaining composure. That was fucking clinging and losing it. And that's the third time it's happened to me now. But it was definitely the most far out, the most intense and scary and real feeling. So I feel like I've talked about a lot of what this has been to me, and I'm still integrating a lot of how it made me feel, because it completely reworked the ways I think. It completely, or at least it made me re-examine the parts of myself that think they know and think they already understand, and feel like they don't need to be bothered with because I've got it, you know. This trip showed me I still have lots and lots and lots of examining to do, to be able to not get lost in my own suggestive mind, because I do that a lot. This has probably been one of the most personal videos I've made on my channel, but like I said, I hope it serves to you guys as an example of how real this shit is. You're not just having fun. You're not just getting weird for a night. You're not just doing it to fucking look cool. And if you are, you're probably going to come across something like this. Or you know what? No. You might not. You might be able to just live the rest of your life having fun tripping, or being cool because you trip. But in my experience, in my opinion, I feel blessed to be that intimidated and that affected by those experiences, because it makes it seem like a much more effective tool of waking myself up, because it's not easy for me. It's easy for a lot of people to trip and just have fun, have a good time, see some cool shit. But for me, it's a very bizarre experience. And these are the kind of things that occur on it for me. Occasionally these kind of things occur. But it just shows me I still have work to do. I haven't got it yet. Whatever it is, you know? And that's what I'm starting to fucking realize, is trying to establish this thing is what's killing me. So I'm just kind of going on and on and on now, but I hope you guys got something from this video. I sure as fuck got something from the experience, and it might prompt some new and interesting content for the future. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will be back with more.